It seems Caitlin Clark has progressed from changing the league to now reconfiguring her own front office. Rumors are circulating that Clark quietly urged Indiana's management to keep Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, two vital allies, at any cost. And the most astonishing part of it all, it was effective. This raises a question for you. Do you feel Clark is right to leverage her power in this manner, or is she crossing a boundary in her role as a player?
All right, let's get some things in order. Who is ESPN predicting to leave the Indiana Fever in free agency? Who are they predicting to leave all of these teams? This is the most free agents in WNBA history. Everybody is trying to cash in on this new CBA. We got to figure out who is about to be leaving Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, along with some of the other teams. I think there are a few players that are going to be demanding.
Elliot, for weeks, the prevailing story was that Lexie Hull's tenure in Indiana was finished. We saw tearful farewells, departure messages online, and speculation she was packing for another city. Well, it now seems that entire story was a fabrication constructed from misleading quotes and clickbait titles, because it is now clear Caitlin Clark stepped in, making certain Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham were going nowhere. Many sources say Clark met with Fever management, stating plainly that those two were off the table. She wants them back, she wants stability, and she needs people she trusts on the court with her for the upcoming season. And you know what? She isn't wrong. Let's be candid, Clark's second year is critical for this whole franchise. The Fever climbed from the league's cellar to a semi-finalist team largely due to her influence, and the bond she forged with players such as Lexie and Sophie. You can see it in their play. Every instance where Clark drives and passes to Hull for a corner three or Sophie gets a rebound for a score, it appears so natural. That's a bond that can't be acquired on the free agency market. But the media created a drama. Why? Caitlin Clark rescues friends, gets more clicks than Fever utilizes RFA rights, like normal teams do.
It's very uncertain for the entire league in general, but you're a free agent for the first time. Have you thought about what free agency might look like for you if you'd like to be back?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a restricted free agent, so I think that changes things a little bit. But I've loved my years here in Indiana. So obviously, with a lot of uncertainty, you don't know what's to come. But I've built a life here, and I love this franchise. I love the people. I love the fans. So we'll see what comes. Elliot?
For weeks, we've heard that Lexie Hull was done in Indiana. Tearful goodbyes, farewell posts, and rumors that she'd already started packing for another team. Well, turns out that story was a complete fiction built on half quotes and clickbait. Because now we know Caitlin Clark stepped in and made sure Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham weren't going anywhere. Multiple sources say Clark went to Fever management and made it clear these two are off limits.
So let's set the record straight. Lexie Hull is a restricted free agent. This means Indiana holds the power over her professional future. It can match any contract she is offered by a different team. She never said goodbye. She said she was uncertain. That's what every athlete says before negotiations get underway. The real turning point was Caitlin Clark's own public action. She replied to Lexie's post with 3 simple words, "So proud of you." That was not a farewell. It was a definite signal, a subtle way of saying, "I have your back." And you can be sure Indiana's front office saw it. When Clark offers public support, you better believe team ownership is paying close attention. This is not 2023 anymore. Caitlin Clark is more than an athlete. She represents a brand worth millions. Her perspective now carries as much influence as the coaches. Now let's get into why this is so important. While not the leading scorers on the team, Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull bring the tenacity and loyalty that held this team together when it was decimated by injuries. After Clark was hurt late in the year, Sophie was first to the podium at press events, defending her and keeping the locker room steady. When Lexie had a poor shooting game, Clark kept feeding her the ball. You simply cannot fake that level of trust. So why would Indiana ever contemplate letting them go? The finances? It is really that straightforward. The Fever are entering an offseason where half their bench players are free agents and the salary cap is tight. They are unable to pay everyone. However, they also cannot afford to alienate the very player who single-handedly saved their franchise from irrelevance. This shows the real power of Caitlin Clark. If she wants a player protected, the team complies. Period. This is the same franchise that formerly made choices based on data and long-range strategies. Now their choices hinge on what keeps number 22 content. And honestly, this might not be a negative approach. When you have a once-in-a-generation player who packs arenas, sells jerseys, and lands national TV deals, you build your team around her. Not because she is ordering it, but because she has earned it. Let's not forget, the Fever were a complete mess before she got there. They didn't just need a new point guard. They needed a powerful leader with a fan base that would make management invest again. Clark brought that. So when she pulls management aside to say, "I want Sophie and Lexie back," it is not just a player's simple request. It is a powerful movement. And for anyone who thinks she's out of line, here is the plain truth. This sort of thing happens everywhere. Superstars shape their own rosters. LeBron James does it. Steph Curry does it. Ajay Wilson does it. If you are the one responsible for the team's success, you get a say in your teammates. The primary difference here is that Caitlin Clark is doing it younger and faster than any other player in WNBA history. Now, this is where the story gets even more intriguing. According to several insiders, the Fever's original strategy was to cut expenses this offseason by declining to match Lexie's next contract. They assumed she would get offers from other teams that saw her as a defensive bench player. But once Clark's circle learned of this, the entire dynamic changed. Instantly, management was re-examining their strategy. Then came the media storm. Reports of Clark's meeting with GM Amber Cox, conversations about team dynamics and her preferred core players. A week later, the official messaging was different. The very executives willing to let Lexie go are now talking about the value of continuity and the rewards of chemistry. What does this mean? Clark got her way. And it wasn't just about Lexie. Reports say Sophie Cunningham, who was under a microscope for her bold statements, was also on the verge of being cut after the WNBA warning incident.
Really, really good. Actually, I'm just actually really motivated, and I think I'm at a really good spot in my life where like I'm just excited to just like pour into my body, pour into things that I enjoy, and I'm just so excited for this upcoming season because I don't know where I'm going to be, and I just feel like in the W, your golden years, I would say, is anywhere from 28 to 34.
The front office was reportedly ready to move on to prevent any more distractions, but Clark stepped in. She intervened again, making it clear she also wanted Sophie to stay. That is correct. The player who was attacked online for her defense of Clark is now being shielded by Clark herself. That is what genuine loyalty is, and that loyalty has put the team's management in a difficult position because let's be realistic. If the Fever had let Sophie go after all she did for Clark, the PR backlash would have been immense. The fans would have considered it a massive betrayal. You cannot just release the one player who came to the physical defense of your star player during on-court mayhem. That is not how you build loyalty with your supporters. So Clark's action wasn't just strategic, it was vital. She saved the Fever from their own poor judgment and another round of negative press coverage. Because seriously, this team cannot handle more bad press. It requires stability, consistency, and a locker room atmosphere that lets players focus on the game, not on drama. And the rapport between Clark, Sophie, and Lexie is exactly that. They create a perfect balance. Clark's passion, Sophie's courage, Lexie's composed defense. That blend is what let them overachieve throughout the season. So this isn't a matter of friendship or playing favorites. It's a matter of winning. And Caitlin Clark knows exactly what is required to win. Now here's where the situation becomes even more fascinating. What Caitlin Clark just achieved is not just about protecting her teammates, it is a message sent to the entire WNBA. She effectively said, if you plan to win alongside me, you will take care of my circle. That message was heard loud and clear across the league. Because make no mistake, this wasn't some minor request in the locker room. This was a calculated, full-scale power play. Clark is now at a point where her opinion is more influential than half the front office. Every decision Indiana makes going forward, trades, signings, marketing, is now viewed through one lens. How does this impact Caitlin? And honestly, that is how it should be. You do not treat a generational superstar like an ordinary player. You treat her as the foundation. You build the entire organization around her. And this move just proved it. Clark is now the primary designer of Indiana's future. Now let's be honest. When word got out that she had stepped in for Sophie and Lexie, half the internet went crazy. Some called it favoritism, others said she was being overly controlling. But here is the thing. Those critics seem to have forgotten the chaos that this team endured last season. Half the players were out with injuries. The media environment was a circus. The league had her under a constant microscope. She was fouled hard on the court, heckled at away games, and yet she kept performing, hitting threes and pulling her team toward the playoffs. You cannot get through a season like that without having people who support you. And for Clark, her people were Sophie and Lexie. Sophie was the first to speak out when others stayed quiet. When the critics got personal, she fought back. When Clark was fouled hard, Sophie was there, ready to respond. That level of loyalty does not go unnoticed. And Lexie, she holds the team together. Quiet, dependable, and calm in tough situations. She is the type of player every star needs on their team. She does the little things that don't make the highlights but help you win. She spaces the court, can guard multiple players, and never complains about what she is asked to do. You cannot just find that kind of chemistry in a random free agent. You cannot buy trust. And Caitlin Clark knows that more than anyone. So yes, she used her pull to make sure the team did not break up a working combination. That is not about ego. That is about leadership. And if Indiana's management is smart, they will listen. Because let's be real, the Fever have a history of failing to maintain momentum. They improve one season, then tear it all down the next. Clark's move forces them to change that pattern. By standing by Sophie and Lexie, she is declaring, stop the constant rebuilds. Let's create something that will last. And that is what championship organizations always do. There is another layer to this that the media has mostly ignored. The timing. This is all occurring just before one of the most unpredictable off-seasons in WNBA history. The collective bargaining agreement is set to expire soon, and everyone is preparing for what could be a contentious negotiation. A potential 2026 lockout is making players nervous. Nobody wants to be left without a contract or on a team that does not value them. That is what makes Clark's loyalty so meaningful. She is communicating to the rest of the team. If you are loyal to me, I will have your back. In a league where players can feel like they are disposable, that's a big deal. And for a young superstar to have that sort of power already, it is historic. Even veterans like Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart didn't command that level of authority so early in their careers. Clark's influence is about more than just her stats. It is about her power. When she speaks, people pay attention. When she posts, fans react. When she requests something, ownership delivers. It is amazing to consider, but she is becoming a player the likes of which the WNBA has never seen. A superstar with so much fan support that she can influence front office choices. Now let's discuss how this affects the rest of the team. Keeping Sophie and Lexie completely changes Indiana's path forward. It means they are choosing chemistry instead of chaos. It means they are listening to the athletes who make them compelling to watch. It means they are admitting this is no longer just a rebuild. Because the fact is, Indiana's championship window is open now. Clark is in her prime. Boston is a monster in the paint. And the league is finally paying attention. You do not squander that to save a little bit on the salary cap. This decision keeping Sophie and Lexie is the Fever showing they're serious. They are not just keeping role players. They are preserving the very heart of their team.
And yes, it was Caitlin Clark who orchestrated it. So does this make her the unofficial general manager of the Indiana Fever? Not on paper, but in reality, absolutely. Think about it. Would any of this have occurred if someone else had asked for it? No way. If Sophie or Lexie had gone to management on their own, they would be gone by now. But with Clark supporting them, they are suddenly key pieces of the team's culture. That is true power. And it's a stark reminder of how the WNBA's power balance is shifting rapidly. This is not the old league where players were silent and did as they were told. The new wave, led by players like Clark, is changing how front offices must work. They are not simply employees. They are partners. And Caitlin Clark's move just taught every young player how to use their own power without a single dramatic word. She didn't tweet a threat. She did not post a vague quote. She just told her bosses what she wanted. And she got it. And the fans? They absolutely loved it. The comments were filled with people cheering for her. Fever fans called her the boss. Others said, finally someone who gets what the team needs. Because deep down, they all know she is right. Keeping Sophie and Lexie is not just about keeping friends. It is about building something legitimate. You win titles by having the right people with you. Ask any great athlete in history. Michael Jordan had Pippen, Kobe had Fisher, Steph has Draymond, and Caitlin has Sophie and Lexie. They are more than just teammates. They are extensions of her game. They bring her balance. They give her protection. They make the game easier. And that is why the fans are calling this the smartest decision of the offseason. Because instead of letting the front office tear apart something that was working, Clark made them keep it together. That is not diva behavior. That is winning behavior. And honestly, it is about time the WNBA had a superstar who knows how to build a legacy, not just a highlight reel. So heading into the next season, the Fever have all the pieces they need: leadership, chemistry, and a core group that has faith in one another. And they owe a debt of gratitude to Caitlin Clark for it. The league might not like how much power she is accumulating, but they cannot argue with the results. Because one thing is now obvious: the Fever are no longer a work in progress. They are a team being built by the most powerful person in women's basketball. And if management was smart enough to listen to her this time, it just might be the first real move toward a championship. So what do you think? Did Caitlin Clark just save the Fever from yet another offseason misstep? Or is she becoming too powerful for her own good? Leave your thoughts below. Hit the like button and subscribe for more analysis of the drama behind the WNBA's biggest stories. Because one thing is for sure: when Caitlin Clark speaks, Indiana listens.